Yo, what's going on guys? How you doing? Arekkz here and welcome back to another video for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Only today I've got something slightly different. I've actually got Alex here from Nintendolife. How you doing, Alex?
Hello, Arekkz. I'm very good. How are you?
I am very good. Thank you for joining me. So, to those of you guys on the channel, you may remember I've uploaded quite a few videos for Breath of the Wild so far, and I did tell you guys that at some point I did want to upload basically my entire gameplay from E3, and today is that day, but I thought instead we would chat together because Alex has also had a chance to go hands-on a fair bit, and I thought what better way to do it than to chat about our hands-on impressions. But first of all, if you guys have not already heard of Nintendolife, the guys over there, Alex does some amazing work, some amazing videos, so you can find a link to the Nintendolife channel.
Get away with you.
You can find a link to the Nintendolife channel in the description box down below, and also we've done another collaboration video. We've spoken about some slightly more outlandish ideas in Breath of the Wild, and you can also find that link down below. So definitely go and check them both out. But, well, in fact, before we get started, Alex, what do you do over at Nintendolife?
Well, what don't we do? Well, we do a whole manner of things. You know, we do the typical reviews and things like that, but also some sillier videos as well, you know, sort of looking at games that are coming out, which at the moment is not that many. So
Yeah.
it's been a little bit difficult at the moment, but we're getting through somehow. We look at other things like Pokemon Go as well, briefly, and, you know, sort of big news things that happen, if you like. And, yeah, all things Nintendo we cover all the time.
Sweet, awesome. Well, there you go. So if you guys want some more Nintendo stuff, then you know where to go. So let's kind of like jump back for a bit, because of course you had a chance to go hands-on with Breath of the Wild.
I did.
So let's start with first impression. Like the second you go hands-on for the very first time, after seeing all these trailers for all this time and, you know, seeing all this footage, what were your first impressions?
Well, actually, my first impressions, whilst, you know, sort of they were positive, it didn't actually feel like a Zelda game in the traditional sense.
Okay.
And I don't want to worry anyone straight away with that, but because, you know, sort of after a while it did, you know,
Yes.
when I don't know whether you got a chance to go with the story demo.
I did, yes, yeah.
Yes, and that's when it started feeling, you know, when you actually had the narrative and things like that, that's when it started feeling like a Zelda game. But just the free roaming demo where you're just running around rather than a wound, it's so different, which, to be honest, you know, initially I sort of thought, oh dear, is it going to be too far removed? But I think the Zelda series has maybe got itself into a bit of a rut, perhaps.
Yeah, I think
And so the, you know, sort of the whole idea of having something fresh and new really is the sort of the kick up the arse that the series needs.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And just sort of to give people some context, like when we played the demo, there were basically two demos, and they actually threw you into the open world one first before we did the story demo. So you basically start, as you guys will see at the beginning of this gameplay, you just start in the middle of a field, you pick up some items, and you're kind of just left to do what you want. So to Alex's point, you know, there's no direction at that point. But of course, when you do the second demo, then yeah, you do have your typical narrative. You wake up, you start the game as if it were a Zelda game, and that's where things do start to feel slightly more connected. And also, I think also in this demo they mentioned that it was, you know, it was devoid of any NPCs or anything because they didn't want to have any spoilers. So it was, in the grand scheme of things, not in necessarily a negative way, but it was quite a, you know, a lifeless environment because they didn't want to put in any notable characters, right?
Yeah, they want to save some things for when it actually comes out. And I do think that whilst, you know, sort of some people just looking at it from, you know, from an outsider's perspective, they don't know about, you know, the NPCs specifically being taken out for that demo. They might think, oh, there's nothing going on, it's empty, it's barren, there are no towns or anything. Apparently all towns and villages were actually removed from the demo. So
Yes.
we can be pretty sure that on the plateau, which was where the demo took place, which is, as it happens, is 2% of the game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is, it's pretty massive.
That is going to be insane. In fact, to actually jump into that point, I was kind of just jumping around here, but I did a video at one point on kind of the scale of the map. But I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to kind of zoom out and look at the whole, like the over map. Not that you could really see much because it was all grayed out, but there was I mean, when you say it was 2%, I think it took up a 2x2 grid in, I think it was a 22x18 grid. So that's going to be.
Those numbers probably mean something. Yes.
Yeah, it was basically it was basically a very, very tiny area, and I mean that's something that actually quite interests me because I think to myself, what are your thoughts on going going that big? I mean, there's always the risk, right, when you go fully open world, where I've always been a believer where I'd rather have a slightly smaller environment that is more densely populated than, say, to lean on like No Man's Sky, for example, where it's massively open, barren environments, right? Because of course, there's a lot more personality, a lot more enjoyment to be had in something that's, there's a lot more life in there, right?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Although I think the comparison to No Man's Sky, it's sort of apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's probably not the best comparison.
No Man's Sky is kind of probably in terms of general expanse. I don't know for sure, but probably the biggest game that's ever been made, or at least it's definitely up there. Haven't played it myself, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
No.
Anyway. I do know what you mean, where it can sort of everything can feel a little bit more diffuse, as it were.
Yes.
That is a concern of mine, but by the same token, you only have to look at something like Xenoblade Chronicles X. I don't know whether you've played that,
Yes, yeah,
or even the original Xenoblade Chronicles, to show that you can have those gigantic worlds, and yes, they feel open and expansive and everything, but at the same time, if you've got enough, sort of enough to do in the areas, even if it's not very much, but enough to do in every, say, square, let's say square 500 meters, it's not going to feel barren. And, sort of, even if it's just the environments themselves are what it is, what there is to do, I think that should hopefully be enough. And I think Nintendo are probably sensible enough to not go down more sort of a, sort of a Fallout route, sort of, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love Fallout, but, and, sort of, in a sense, the fact that it's so barren is almost to its advantage. But I wouldn't want, sort of that level of barren, sort of a barren landscape in Breath of the Wild.
No,
so
I agree.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely, I think it's fair to say, I mean, like, Nintendo, they're very good at kind of, breathing life into environments. So I think, while they've done a couple of things like this, I'd say it's probably one of their first proper open world games, so to speak. So in this respect, I think, with something like this on Zelda, I've got a lot of faith that they're going to be able to breathe a lot of life into that. And I think one of the other things that I like about it as well is the sandbox nature of the game. I mean, it's kind of something I wanted to move on to anyway. The fact that it seems a lot of the time in Breath of the Wild, one of the nice things I enjoyed is that if you can see something, or like you can think you can do something, generally speaking, 9 times out of 10 you can do that something. So I think when you have that, when it really is like a sandbox, like, when you are roaming around the environment, and it's basically like a big playground, right? I mean, I know that I saw the video that you guys put up on your channel where you basically kind of messing around with some of the physics stuff that you can do. I think when you've got a scope to, when you've basically got the foundations for that, then I think people are going to have a lot of fun with the open world.
Yes, I mean, one of the things we actually did in that video, which you can splice in now if you like.
Yeah.
We'll give you permission to use the video.
Awesome.
One of the things is a lot of people notice there's some sort of like floating. It could be an island. People think maybe it looks a bit like some sort of vessel, some sort of aircraft or something, and it's sort of flying around. And people were asking whether we could actually put a waypoint on that, and we could. The waypoint didn't stay on the thing itself, but then we were able to zoom out and see the grander scheme, and you could see just how far away this thing was. And good golly gravy biscuits was it far away. And it just shows the immense scale of the map. And if you can see something, you can go to it.
Yeah, it's so good. I think that's one of the super refreshing things I loved. I mean, the fact that you can, like, just simple mechanics, like being able to climb stuff, right? I mean, we're so used to in Zelda games, if there's like a high like mountain wall or something, you're typically like, all right, well that's a wall I can't go past. You just brush up against it and move on. Whereas now it's like, no, you can actually just start scaling it, which is going to massively open up the world for that. That's going to be that is something I'm super looking forward to.
Yeah, it's just the scale and, if you'll pardon the pun, scaling the mountains and things like that. That's the thing I think I'm most excited for, because, in previous games and things like that, you've had mountains, but it's always been, you always sort of seem to, sort of either drive or run or walk or something like that. And one of the new things that Zelda's bringing in is climbing. And, I'm not saying it's never been done before.
Whoa,
but,
climbing!
but it's something that hasn't been done that often.
Yeah, I agree.
So, the idea that, sort of you see this mountain and you don't just, have to sort of run up against it and keep jumping until you eventually scale it Skyrim style. But, so you can actually just climb up it. But at the same time, it's, sort of potentially dangerous, because if you don't get all the way or you don't get far enough, then you might run out of stamina and fall off and all these sort of things. It's very much a fantasy game, but it is grounded in those realistic boundaries, which is one of the things that I think makes the game even more appealing when it's not so sort of So I mean, like, again, coming back to other open world games like Xenoblade Chronicles X, you can get in the mech, you can jump up, you can fly around and everything, and that's great. But to be, to know that you are stuck on your own 2 feet and it's just you running around against the elements, in a way, it's similar to playing Minecraft in a way before they started going mental and it became the strange machine that it is now.
That is true.
Not knocking Minecraft at all, but one my fondest memories of that is when it was. To be honest, when it was a bit simpler and sort of it was just about surviving and you see that big tool mounting, you sort of think, I want to climb that.
Yeah.
There's no easy way to do it. You have to do it on your own volition.
No, I definitely agree. Yeah, I mean, I think also to the point you said earlier. Well, obviously, climbing isn't necessarily like new. One of the integration in Breath of the Wild is a really good thing because you often find. I mean, take Monster Hunter for example. You can climb certain environments, but you can't climb everything, right? So there'll be wall A that you can climb, wall B that looks similar to wall A, but you still can't climb it. Whereas Breath of the Wild, I mean, I don't think I encountered many things I couldn't climb. You can climb trees, you can climb walls, you can climb, the side of a castle. I mean, even I went quite far to the north of the map, and there was like a broken down castle wall, and even that you can climb. So for the most part, it seems like it's like a really sensible integration, whereas it's not one of those ones before where, or you even look back to previous Zelda games, right, where there's there'll be walls with vines on, which they're obviously, destined for you to climb them, but everything else is just, not there. So I think, it's definitely, anytime they've added in a new mechanic, it seems like they are trying to make it applicable, like, pretty much everywhere. I mean, they'll obviously be, I would imagine when we start going into temples, for example, they're probably going to say you can't climb the wall of a temple, because I'd imagine that would be an easy way to bypass a lot of puzzles. So
yes. But there may well be, some sort of, rather than, sort of you can climb specific walls, it'll be there are specific walls that you cannot climb.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because they're covered in slime or goo, or they're just... Because, in fact, no, I think they've already got that, haven't they? They've already got that in those temples. I know, because they're not temples. The shrines.
Oh yes, they have. Yeah, there's
that is already in place.
Yeah, the
phew, we just saved ourselves from looking like complete morons.
Sweet, yes, of course.
Yes,
so that's
take
a good point.
that comment section.
Love it. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah. So then, and I think they're also there, but they're very clearly telegraphed in that situation, right? So you obviously know. Like, I don't think there've been any situations where you go up and you're like, oh, can I climb this? You kind of already instinctively know. So yeah, that's that is super cool. So moving over to like another one of the new mechanics, like what's your opinion on the like the fact that all the weapons and all the shields, for example, that you got during the demo, every single one can break. Right now, they don't last too long, but they also don't last. Unless you're hitting like a stone wall, or when I was fighting, I don't know if you had a chance to fight that stone golem boss. That was a surefire way to break through some weapons. That was one of the things that I know that people raised a concern about before, because obviously, like in previous Zelda games, you get a sword, it's like a momentous moment, right? It's like, oh, this is a cool new sword, I worked for this, either whether it be the Master Sword or whether it be something you get from a quest like the Big Goron Sword. So it'd be interesting to kind of see, firstly, what your stance is on the breakable weapons, and also whether or not you think we'll kind of hit that point in the game where there is a weapon we acquire, like the Master Sword, or maybe actually the Master Sword, that kind of defies that mechanic, so to speak.
Well, I do believe that the Master Sword will be in the game because, well, one, it's a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Also, two, it's in the trailer.
Yes, that is true. Yes.
It's all rusty and everything, and some people are suggesting that because it's rusty, that means it's been underwater for so long. So
yes, the link with
people are suggesting it's post Wind Waker, which I would love, by the way.
That
if
would
this
be
is
so
post
good.
Wind Waker. Oh wow, because that would be the furthest longer timeline I think we've gone. We've done a lot of stuff beforehand.
We have, yeah, that's true. Actually, that would be really good. Have you seen that comical picture of Ganondorf coming out the ground with a sword in his head?
I don't think I have. No, I think you're going to have to put it in the video, though.
I will do that. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Make sure you credit the artist.
I will definitely do that. Don't worry. But yeah, it was super hilarious. It's basically obviously following on from Wind Waker when it ends, and now it's just like Ganondorf poking his head out the ground with a massive sword stuck in his head. It's brilliant. But yeah, to that point, I think it's definitely fair to say that we'll pretty much encounter that weapon. So I wonder whether, I would imagine when you do encounter that weapon, it will probably stand out from all the other weapons you've had, so it probably won't break.
Potentially, or one of the things that because sort of they're taking all the NPCs out and everything. One of the things I think they will bring in, I don't know for sure yet because obviously I do not work for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Is that you will be able to repair items.
Yes.
And so it may well be that the Master Sword, rather than breaking like the other items, and maybe these broken items you can sort of keep and repair for whatever, in whatever way possible, going to a blacksmith or something. The Master Sword can become dull maybe.
Yes, yeah, that's the
so that
point.
because I mean the Master Sword breaking would be, canonical. It would be a canonical nightmare.
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah. No, I mean,
And so you go and you can get it sharpened up, and sort of, it's the blade of evil's bane, but it needs a bit of a tickle.
No, I think that's definitely fair. I mean, especially when you do introduce towns, and also I think there were a fair few items that we discovered, while playing through the game that you could collect, but you couldn't, you obviously had no use for, and things like, metal type of materials that obviously they kind of lend themselves to, repairing armor, repairing weapons, repairing shields and whatnot. So. But I think it's
just even like sort of finding a particular find a stone and it's a whetstone and you can sharpen up your weapon with it.
That is true. That is very true.
If you'll pardon the image.
Yeah, but I think it's fair to say as well that it's like, to anyone that kind of worried before, because it was another concern that was raised in some of the comments in videos before, where someone was like, I don't know whether I like the fact that you can break weapons, but when you consider in some of the other Zelda games where you've been able to pick up, say Wind Waker, where you can pick up some of the weapons from enemies that you kill, they only last for a short amount of time, right? So I guess the weapons you kind of find in the open world are of similar vein. So I think it makes sense that they they also don't degrade that fast in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I surfed all the way down a mountain on a wooden shield, and it was still good to go for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it comes down to the quality of the weapon as well. Like during one of the demos, I was able to find this Bokoblin, some sort of Bokoblin leader, and he was tough as nails. He really was.
Yeah, oh, the grey guy.
But I think so. Yeah, grey or blue or something.
Yes, yeah.
And he could kill you in one hit.
Yeah, he was not much. Yeah, he was.
That was and so but his weapon was fantastic. You get his weapon in his shield, and it took so long to degrade.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think you may if you find a common weapon, sort of degrades quite quickly. But the better the weapon, obviously the higher quality it is, the less likely it is to degrade. Just like something in real life.
Yes, that is true. Exactly. That and again, so fits in with the whole, especially if you're kind of, it's a lot more about, it seems to be, at least from the theming and where you start, it's a lot more about grassroots, finding your feet, and like almost like Bear Grylls Zelda. It's a weird comparison, but it's kind of what I've been kind of calling it. Like Link is Bear Grylls out there in the wild, and he's having to fend for himself. So yeah, I think
just set everything on fire. One of the two.
Yep, that is true. It'd be interesting to. I can't wait for the game to come out, and just there'll be a video of someone that would be like, how much stuff can I burn? Or, here's a list of everything you can burn in Zelda.
Don't worry, we'll be hot on that list when it comes out.
Awesome. I look forward to it. So if we take a step back to the plateau for a second, there are some areas where, I mean, in the gameplay, sadly, you guys, if you're watching this, you won't necessarily see it. It's one of the areas I didn't get a chance to visit until my second time going hands-on, which I didn't get to capture. But did you get a chance to go down to the lake at all?
We didn't know, because there was just so much to do.
Yeah, there was.
You couldn't fit it all in.
Yeah, I mean, because one of the cool things I got I visited the lake in the gameplay, and I just spent my time kicking Stalfos skulls into the lake, which is a brilliant thing, by the way. I love the fact that you just kill it, their head falls off, and you just run away with it. And it's a cool thing as well with that. Found out from going hands on is that if you like knock the skulls off of two Stalfos and you steal one of them, then one of them might pick up the head that doesn't belong to it, which is actually really cool. Yeah,
which is it brings up all sort of moral and ethical questions.
Oh yes, definitely. No, but the part of the lake that really impressed me again, I mean, and it also returns to this whole, if you think you can do it, you can generally do it. There was there's a raft down there, and you pick up a leaf, and you can actually just use the leaf as like a sail, and you can then fan your way down the lake, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, and it is the Deku Leaf, isn't it? Is it the Deku Leaf, or is it like a Korok Leaf
or something? Yeah, it was Korok Leaf, yes.
Korok Leaf, yeah. Which is, let's be honest, is pretty much the same thing. Yeah,
no, definitely, for sure. Alright, so let's move on next to currency of all things. So rupees are, for anyone that's played Zelda games, rupees are a very important thing. You use it to basically pay for everything. They're pretty scarce in Breath of the Wild. I found.
Yeah, I didn't come across any. I know that they're there, and I think there's I've heard there's like a chest with like a yellow rupee in it. Like if you jump like right at the edge of the plateau or something like that. Honestly,
yes.
it's playground whispers again. You can't be absolutely certain it's true, but we do know that there are rupees in the game, because it would be bonkers if it wasn't.
If you go near to I think it's the north of the map, there's a place where you can find like a broken down guardian, and you can actually it fights you if you get too close. But near like the dead stone guardians, you can actually gather rupees from them.
Oh, I see.
Which is rather interesting. So I guess, I mean, they're obviously still going to be in the game, but I think it's, obviously they don't come from cutting grass, nor do hearts or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting.
No, yes, there are no hearts in the game because you get all your stuff from food.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's so again, I mean, that kind of returns to the whole Bear Grylls. I'm going to call it The Legend of Zelda: Breath of Bear Grylls, or something like that. But
or Grill of the Wild.
That sounds better. I like that. But I mean, because so you kind of have to think to yourself then. I guess in that respect, maybe currency won't be quite as important. I mean, if you're finding a lot of things and you're maybe even crafting things, then perhaps currency is something you should save for. It might even be that it's like ultra rare materials. Maybe once we go to a town, we may well be that you can find a weapon, but if you want to upgrade it to like a better level or something, then you might have to buy specific materials from vendors. But I mean, that's obviously wild speculation right now. So I'll keep things factual. So let's a couple more things, and I think we're in a good place. So one thing from the stuff we've seen so far, not necessarily had a chance to go hands on with, but some of the stuff we've seen from trailers or some of the gameplay they had at E3. What are you most excited for that you haven't had a chance to try out so far?
Well, to keep it nice and broad and boring, everything beyond the plateau. I'm just so excited to see what the rest of the world holds, because the plateau, this tiny portion of the of the map, has all of this stuff going on. It's got the cold area, it's got the it's got the lake, which is pretty much next to it. It's also got all the grassy areas, mountainous regions, and things like that. What if that's that tiny portion, what can we expect for the rest of the game? It's really exciting because, I mean, we can imagine deserts and things like that, and obviously you're going to have Death Mountain, so volcanoes, and, Zelda's always been very good at getting these strange and unusual environments that, whilst, are strange and unusual, as I previously said, are also sort of, again, grounded in reality, so they're believable. So you don't get all of these these alien worlds and things like that, but sort of ancient ruins and things like that. It's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the kind of Breath of the Wild equivalent of Death Mountain, because Gorons are my all-time favorite race in Zelda. So I can't wait to see. I'm hoping they're there. They better be there. The Gorons in Breath of the Wild. That's
for me. For me, it's between Gorons and Korroks, and we already know one of them's in there. So
yes, that's true. The other thing that actually I'm looking forward to as well is just as someone that likes to customize my character, I'm ridiculous. Is obviously going to have no. Well, actually, no. I say no value. There is actually value because we know that the clothes in the game, sometimes they'll make you warm in cold areas. But one of the clips that we saw from E3 when they were in the desert area is that Link has like a top knot, like a samurai-looking top knot, and like these cool different clothes. So I'm definitely looking forward to.
I think I missed that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll sneak in the video, but there's a section when they did one of the E3 demos, and they were on stage using the wind glider, and they were in the desert area. They didn't really do much. They just kind of were gliding down across one of the canyons, so we didn't really get to see too much. But yeah, he's got this samurai top knot with this cool red and blue clothing on him. And it's it's really cool. So that when I saw that, and plus of course we see the armor, the set of armor in the trailer.
Oh, so yeah.
All those things together, that is going to be super, super cool. Right, well, I think in that case, covered a lot of things. Hopefully you guys, of course, have enjoyed the video. If you do, or if you have, then of course a like would be super appreciated. Make sure that you definitely check out Nintendolife and the second video that I've done with Arekkz in the comments down below. Of course, thank you, Alex, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all.
Nice name, by the way.
Yes. Nice name to you too. And thanks very much for watching, guys. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.